Well, welcome back, kids, to another week of bad guys of the Bible. And today we've got one that we've talked about before. It's a big story. It's one that a lot of you kids already know, but it's one that's really important to point out. Some of these bad guys of the Bible and how we should rely on God to overcome any odds that we come in contact with. So, anytime that you have a situation where somebody is facing somebody else or a team is facing another team and that one team really, oh man, they really don't have a chance. They really don't have a chance at all. They call those matchups a modern day David versus Goliath. And why do you think they call them that? You know, David versus Goliath is one of the biggest, most well-known stories of the Bible. And rightfully so, these teams that have no chance of winning are going against a team where they should definitely be the ones that win. And you got these matchups and everybody knows. Everybody knows what's going to happen. Sometimes the impossible happens. Just like many years ago, before all y'all were born, the Patriots were really, really close in NFL to being a perfect football team for one season. It's back in like 2007. And so they were almost perfect. They had beaten every other team they had come in contact with all the way to the Super Bowl, the biggest game of the year to decide the champion. And they were facing the Giants. That's kind of weird how they were facing the Giants. And the Giants were considered the David team. The Patriots were the Goliath team because they weren't supposed to win. The Giants had no way they were going to win. But they did. They overcame the odds, and they won the Super Bowl that year, and they stopped the Patriots from having a perfect year. And I was right here in this gym when it happened. It was so exciting. So exciting to see the Giants win that year. But a modern-day David versus Goliath. They call it that because in the Bible, we know that David was just a little kid. I mean, he was, a little older than a kid, but he had no reason going into battle against this guy called Goliath. You see, Goliath was this mighty warrior. He was taller, he was stronger, he was bigger, he was everything better than anybody around him. Okay, now all these armies that God had, they were just scared. All these men were just scared. You think about our armies now, and one guy stepped out. Goliath stepped out and said, "Bring on anybody. I'll face anybody you got, and I'll defeat them. And if I defeat them, then that means our army defeats your army, and that's the end of these battles. That's the end of this war." And everybody was scared. They saw Goliath, they saw how big he was, they saw how bad he was, and they didn't want to face him. They were scared. But then David came along. David, he was not a warrior, okay? He was nothing even close to a soldier. He was a shepherd boy, all right? So he had no reason being out there at all, not even a little bit. But David came and he said, "You know what? My God is way more powerful than this guy will ever be. My God can do way more stuff than this guy could ever do, and that's why I'll take care of him for you." He went and told the king, went and told the armies, "I got this because God's got this." Now see, David, he didn't have any armor. He didn't have any weapons, no big swords and all this stuff. Like I said, he wasn't a soldier, right? But he did have a slingshot. A slingshot that he had used to protect the sheep from animals that came against him. So he had this slingshot, put some stones in his bag, and you got to know, David was scared. Oh, David was definitely scared. But even through his fear, he let God lead him. And we are going to be in 1 Samuel chapter 17. Y'all say that. 1 Samuel chapter 17 is where we're going to be, where we are going to see the interaction between David and Goliath. David, somebody who had no chance of winning. No soldier, no warrior, no armor, no special weapons, nothing to help him out against this 8-9 foot tall giant warrior. So let's go and read from 1 Samuel chapter 17. It says, Goliath walked out towards David with his shield bearer ahead of him, sneering in contempt at this ruddy-faced boy. Am I a dog, he roared at David, that you come at me with a stick? And he cursed David by the names of his gods. Come over here. I'll give your flesh to the birds and wild animals, Goliath yelled. David replied to the Philistine, you come to me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of heaven's armies, the God of the armies of Israel. And everyone assembled here will know that the Lord rescues his people, but not with sword and spear. This is the Lord's battle, and he will give you to us. As Goliath moved closer to attack, David quickly ran out to meet him. Reaching into his shepherd's bag and taking out a stone, he hurled it with his sling and hit the Philistine in the forehead. The stone sank in. Goliath stumbled and fell face down to the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with only a sling and a stone, for he had no sword. So you see, the story of David and Goliath is one that should really encourage us as believers, because you see, there's no giant, there's no bully, there's no obstacle that we can't overcome if God is on our side. David didn't win that day just because he was really good with a slingshot. David won that day because he trusted in God, because he knew that God could take him through anything that he was going to face, even a giant like Goliath. So you see, if we can have confidence in God, if we can have trust in God like David did, then we will constantly have victories like David did. Now see, during this time, David didn't have the Bible like we have the Bible, okay? They had the first 5 books of the Bible. They had Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And they had those parts of the Bible that they could study and that they could read, and they could know how God created the world, and they could know how God brought his Israelites out of Egypt, and they could know how God had worked through history. He knew all this stuff, and he knew that God would be with him in battle. So his faith is in a God that had not done all the stuff that we know. See, we get the entire Bible, and we know what God did through Jesus, because Jesus came, he died for us, he saved us, he's alive today, and we get to be with God forever through our faith in that. So how much more awesome is it that we get this entire love story of the Bible, that we get to learn about God, we get to have that same faith that David had every single day. In your life, doesn't matter how old you are, in your life there are going to be giants that you have to face. There are going to be big decisions that you have to face. There are going to be things that happen, and you are going to be scared. You are going to have the hardest time thinking that you can overcome these things. But today, we need to learn and we need to move forward with the faith that David had. With just a sling and a stone, he defeated Goliath. That's what people would like to say. But it was more than a sling and a stone. It was through faith in God that he defeated Goliath. So, whenever we come to our giants in life, whenever we come to those scary, scary times that we have to face and those decisions that we have to make, put your faith in God, because he will win. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. So we're all going to face these bad guys, and they may not be real giants, but listen, you're going to have a hard time. Let God lead you. Put your faith in Him, and everything's going to be all right. Man, I love the story of David and Goliath. Man, just it's so awesome to see this boy. Nobody gave him a chance, and he overcame. He finished on top, all because of his faith. Man, that's just awesome. Don't forget, kids, if you have any questions about baptism, if you have any questions about what Jesus did for us and why it's so important and how awesome it is that we get to spend forever with God, don't hesitate to call me or text me or FaceTime me or whatever you want to do. Get in contact with me. I'd love to talk with you about it. Talk with your parents about it. Don't be scared to ask those questions. Maybe that's some of the questions that you're scared of. Maybe that's some of the stuff, some of the giants right now is just not knowing exactly what all this means for you. Don't hold those questions back. We love you, and we want to see you have a relationship with God. That's it. Bad guy number 3 was Goliath. We've got 3 more bad guys of the Bible that we're going to go through over the next 3 weeks. Really excited to point out some of these bad guys and how God always wins. So y'all, I love you. I miss you. We'll see you next time. All right, I hope you're still watching. And I wanted to point out this one important announcement that we are having kids prayer time during our drive-in services, and I need your help. If you're one of the kids that have volunteered to pray at church, I need you to step up and I need you to help me have some prayers for those services. If you're one of the kids who are maybe thinking of praying out loud during church, but you weren't quite there yet, then I want you to maybe think about it and maybe see if this is the way that you can take that first step. What it is I get a recording of you praying and I play it over the speakers at the drive-in service at church. So you don't actually have to stand in front of people while you do it. You just got to get your parents or guardians to record you praying to God, whatever you want to pray for, whoever you want to pray for. They'll send it to me, and I'll get it put into the service. Y'all, we've got some awesome prayers as kids, and it just really makes me proud of you, how awesome you do with talking to God like He's your best friend. And that's what it's all about. We don't have to be scared to talk to God. It's an opportunity. We get to talk with the one who created us all. So if you're interested in that, get your parents to reach out to me. Tell them, hey, I want to be in the kids' prayer time, so can you tell Joey that I'll do a video for him? So I challenge you to do that. And if you don't want to right now, that's okay. There'll be other opportunities that you can be a part of our services coming up. I love you.